Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
Welcome to the Rock and Review. We're catching up with an award-winning singer, entertainer, and author, BJ Thomas, right here on the Rock and Review. Thanks for joining us, BJ.
Hey, Eric. Thank you. Good to be here.
And you've had such an amazing career, BJ, starting out singing in church and everything. And then, starting off with your bands, with the Triumphs and with the Traits and everything. And you had a gold record early on, even before Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Yeah, actually, I had 2 or 3 gold records before Raindrops, and I had Hooked on a Feeling and some things. And, I talked to Roy Head this week from the Traits, and I talked to a couple of the Triumphs this week too. So, we keep in touch, and it wasn't really my band. It was our band. And, we were good, but when we had Lonesome, we had I'm So Lonesome out, and it went #1 in Houston. And I started getting offers to go out on the road. And so I told the guys, I said, hey, we've got offers, we can go out with Dick Clark and yada, yada, And so some of them, a few of them were going to college, and some of them were working for their fathers and whatever, and they just couldn't, commit to going. So anyway, I went by myself, but we still stay connected.
That's amazing. Well, you brought up Hooked on a Feeling also. I mean, and you've had songs, you've got multiple gold records, but also, some people may not know that back in the day, you used to do some commercial jingles for Pepsi and Bell and Coke and some of them.
Yeah, when I first signed with Scepter Records, it was all about making money, I guess. And I did, a couple of beer commercials or whatever. But the best one I did was the Coca-Cola thing. And so, Ray Charles had done one, so I was really excited about doing one and joining him,
That's amazing. Well, I was going to bring it up too, obviously a lot of kids now, including my own daughter, are going back and watching a lot of the programs we grew up with. And you did the theme song for Growing Pains starting out.
Yeah, I did. That was a song written by Stephen Dorff and John Bettis. Both of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. And, I was just hanging out. I happened to be home one night, and the phone rang, and the guy said, hey, you don't know me, but I got your number. He said, I hope you don't mind me calling you. He said, I'm a songwriter, and we're writing a song for a TV pilot, and it's coming out so much like a B.J. Thomas song that we want to know if you'll do it, because if you won't do it, we're going to have to make some major changes in it, because it just sounds just like you. And I said, hey, I'd love to do it. And so, I went and did it. It was for a pilot at that point. And, no one was really expecting that much from it. But the first night it was broadcast, it was the #1 most viewed show in New York City. And then, of course, it had a long run as a top 5 television show. And great. That song has probably had as much airplay as anything I've ever done since the show was in syndication and all that stuff. So I was lucky.
Well, and once again, we touched on it about, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I don't think any of us, I know growing up, you can't think of that movie without hearing you singing that song, Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
Well, that's great. And yeah, I mean, I have great memories of doing the bicycle scene, and I had been working with Mr. Bacharach for a number of months. And we were looking for songs. And of course, I'd been recording in Memphis, and the label, Scepter Records, asked me if Gloria and I would move up to New York City, because they said, if you move up, I think I can get you a session. Florence Greenberg was the owner of Scepter. She said, I think I can get you a song and a session with Burt Bacharach and Hal David. And so, that sounded good to me. So I had moved up, and I had already seen Burt a number of times in the offices, Scepter's offices. And, I was just awestruck by this guy. And he was amazing and still is. And we'd been trying to find a song, and it really wasn't really happening. But then just a couple of months after we moved up, the Raindrops thing came up for the bicycle scene, and just so fortunate to be in right. I just had Hooked on a Feeling, so I kind of was in the back of his mind. And even though I think he did, I've always heard that he wrote it for Bob Dylan. and they did pitch it to Ray Stevens because Ray had just had Everything's Beautiful, but Ray had just done a Christopherson song, and he was committed to that, so he didn't do Raindrops. And so every time I see Ray, I thank him profusely, you know. But you know, I got to do it, and you know, it's just been a major part of my career, and it's been a real pleasure to be able to do that song when I perform.
You know, looking at your career too, BJ, it seems like you've had a knack for working with some of the top songwriters in the world and also some of the top guitarists, such as Reggie Young.
Oh, yeah. Of course, Reggie was a dear brother of mine. And that you know, the Memphis Boys, who were the American studio group at that time, played on most of my records. And, you know, gosh, those guys are the greatest band. And I'm just waiting for them to go in the Hall of Fame where they belong. And I think that's one of the things that made my career what it is that I did, you know, by whatever good fortune I had, I did work with some of the great writers of my time, Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil, and Mark James, and Stephen Dorff, and then, of course, Mr. Bacharach and Hal David. So.
Yeah. Just amazing. Well, you know, I thought it was so cool too, you know, and obviously it's been out a few years, I think 2013, where you did the living room sessions, where you took your hit songs and kind of gave an acoustic twist on them. I'm wondering if, you know, in the near future, you're going to come out with something else along those lines.
Well, I am going in the studio in Muscle Shoals. Of course, we had to postpone the session, but we were going in July 15th. So with Dan Penn and Billy Lawson. Of course, Dan Penn is the Hall of Fame songwriter. And Billy is a great songwriter. So we're disappointed, a little frustrated in that, but we're all in. I just talked to Dan last night, and we're just as soon as we can, we're going to go into Muscle Shoals and do that. So we're really looking forward to that. Yeah, the living room sessions were, you know, we never were really that excited about redoing our songs. But when they, you know, they really wanted me to do it, and when they, you know, came up with, well, let's do it acoustically and we'll have some people come in and sing with you. And so it did kind of pique our interest then. And we did it. And, you know, we had a great time doing it. It sold quite a few CDs, and we had so much fun doing it. So.
Well, I want to make sure that our viewers know, BJ, where should they go for your website, social media, and everything else to keep up for when you're going to be back on tour?
My thing is bjthomas.com. And I'm on Instagram as the BJ Thomas. And I'm on Twitter too. So we're doing a lot of PR work on the Twitter. So I'm mostly on Instagram. That's mostly me there, but you can reach me those ways.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great catching up with you. Look forward to seeing you back on the road and with some new music coming out. But, you know, your voice always sounds great. BJ Thomas, thank you so much for joining the Rock Interview.
Eric, thank you very much. Thanks for supporting me all these years. And it was great talking to you, buddy.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.